Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today is Monday, November 29th, 2021, and welcome into the Java Cafe. It is Mental Health Mondays, and so there's a lot to cover today, and we are definitely in a couple of seconds holding space for our community. I've been putting up a couple of posts since Saturday. I am aware that there was an incident of domestic violence, not necessarily in Boston, but impacted families and the community here in Boston. And I will say the young woman's name. Her name is Deja. I am not connected to the family directly at all. And so I am not going to go too deep into the details or anything like that. But however, I am observant that once again, or I have observed rather, that once again, a large portion of our community is dealing with exponential compounded trauma. So in a few moments, we're going to check in about that. I'm going to share some things from my training, though not in it directly anymore. You never forget the services and the guidance that you were taught to give to families that are dealing with trauma. And so let's start off this morning with seeing who's in the Java Cafe. We're going to talk about who was in the Java Cafe on Saturday. We're going to end out with that more on a positive note this morning because what we have to talk about in a few minutes is definitely real. Dr. Brandy Brooks is coming into the room at about 9:07, but let's go in and say good morning. I'm going to share some things about trauma, and we will go from there. And it looks like it is 9:06 already. So Dr. Brandy, if you're watching, give me about 5 minutes and then pop in and we'll talk with you then. But Naraki, good morning, beautiful. Good to see you in the room. Thank you for coming on Saturday. Rena, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Good to see you. Sister Debbie, good morning. Good to see you in the room as well. My baby sister, Tamisha, is in the room. Good to see you here and in the Java Cafe on Saturday. Thanks for bringing Mama Java. Sharon Cornelius. Now, I could say a little something about Miss Sharon. I'll just say that the event was from 11 to 1 and ask Sharon, do me a favor, put in the comments what time you got there. But Sharon Cornelius, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Nikki, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Pastor Marion, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Props. I'm going to choke you. Props has a habit of calling me at like 8:57, 8:58 for just to say good morning, just to check in, knowing that I'm sitting here frazzled. I put the studio back together. But anyway, Sharon, she's saying good morning to everybody. She's probably going to get me later. Gail, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Good to see you in the room. Rachel, good morning. Good to see you in the room as well. Dr. Brandy just came in. A little bit delayed, Dr. Brandy, but I'm going to be right with you in 1 second. Tasha, good morning. Good to see you in the room. And Pastor Marion, thank you before even asking while we're getting ready for this conversation about trauma. And then also Dr. Brandy's going to talk with us about, when it comes to thankfulness, which pew do you sit on? Conditional thankful. I don't know how she's going to break the pews down, but conditional thankfulness, unconditional thankfulness, just thankful. And I know she's going to have a little church this morning. With what we have to discuss, you all know that when we deal with things in our community like loss and trauma, we do joke in sort of to get through it. And so I'm trying to keep things a little light because we do have to serve some strong brew this morning. Again, Tasha, good morning to you. Dina, thank you so much for praying for Deja's family. And Lasagna is in the room. Good to see you in the room. Looking forward to making our own Java Cafe when we have dinner in January. Kelly, good morning. Good to see you in the room as well. And T.I., good morning. I have to get with you to get that information to share. But I've run into this woman a couple of times who is a member of the Java Cafe. She has a business, and we'll tell you about that later. Gail is saying, as a survivor, as a DV survivor, my heart and prayers go out to her and her family. Thank you so much, Gail. To make things a little bit light again. So Sharon Cornelius, who between her and Props and probably a couple others would get, fans or Java family top family member, Sharon showed up at 1:30. Who is next to Java, probably the most popular name in the Java Cafe, Jesus. But Sharon, I love you. You know the day that don't mess with you is a day that you need to run or hit me up and be like, what's wrong, Jimmy? All right, I think I covered everybody in the room. Tara, good morning. Good to see you in the room. Daryl, good to see you in the room as well. And I just seen one of our charter members who introduced the concept. Good morning on purpose, not just morning, not just hey, but good morning on purpose. Annette, good to see you in the room as well. And Sharon said, at least I showed up to support that weekend granddaughter week. Okay, love you, James. All right. So Sharon, I can't mess with you too much. I'm getting ready to bring Dr. Brandy in, but I just wanted to share a couple of things with the community in reference to communal trauma. I'm actually going to bring Dr. Brandy in a little bit early in case she wants to share anything about this as well. But as I mentioned before, this weekend, there was an incident out in Lowell, not in Boston. And good morning, Dr. Brandy. See, you're messing with me first thing in the morning. So there was an incident out in Lowell, and it impacted many people in Boston. Two families in Boston will never be the same. And so I just wanted to share with the community, as I've been seeing a lot of posts on social media, anger, frustration, hurt, pain. I just want to share a couple of things with you. And it's basically simply two things. And Quincy says this often, who just joined us in the room. Quincy, put your instruction that you always give us here in the Java Cafe. When you are dealing with these type of situations, there are toxins that build up in your body. You do not just deal with stress and it just evaporates and goes somewhere. Sometimes we feel it in our neck, in our back. Different situations cause toxins to build up in our body. And one of the priority things that you need to do when you're dealing with trauma and stress is drink water. You must hydrate simply, and excuse my language, I don't know if mother's in here, but you need to pee. You need to pee out those toxins that you are building up in your body as a response to the trauma and the stress. The other thing you need to do, or two other things you need to do, is you need to eat and sleep. And I'm using the word need, and I'm sounding a little aggressive because you are no good to nobody else, to other family members, if you do not take care of yourself. And while our pain is real, while our mourning is real, while our frustration is real, and while our anger is certainly valid in many out of the emotions that we're feeling, we have to take care of ourselves. So community, please please consider better ways, not better ways. I want to be real careful with my words. And Dr. Brandy, jump in. Please figure out ways to mourn in a more healthy manner. For those that smoke weed, for those that drink, don't overdo it. Don't do what they call, self-medicating to try to numb the pain, because when the weed is gone and the alcohol wears off, we're still in the situation. And so, Dr. Brandy, I'll turn that over to you before we go into the sort of thankfulness piece. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good, James. Hi, Java family. How y'all doing? I was just gonna say, James, before we get started, I love what you did on Saturday. I love the panelists. I love the community you brought together. Dope space, the underground, that mac and cheese, spicy and on point. It was just a great community event to be at.
Yes,
and you juxtapose that with what happened this weekend. And, as you mentioned, families grieving. And I truly think you summarized it beautifully when you said trauma impacts us differently. How we react to trauma depends on the person, depends on your situation, depends on your experiences, past, present, and even your future. And so the one thing to kind of keep in mind is, and I'm sorry to go to this reference, but that's just what's coming to my mind, is kind of the weeping may endure for a night, but trouble don't last always. And it's kind of one of those things in this field, in this space, that we say to folks, when you're with someone as they lost a loved one, as they are grieving, the one thing you realize is that it's kind of a fog for them. It's just, they're just there. They're existing. They
In the
don't know how to
moment.
feel, how to be, how to, and so in those moments, in the days, the weeks after, it is important to remember to eat, to remember to practice hygiene, to remember to continue to feel all the feels, and try not to use maladaptive coping techniques like drinking, weed, those types of things, because that pain is still going to be there. That loss is still going to be there. That anger is still going to be there. And so the one thing I would kind of piggyback off of what you said is, again, to give yourself grace and continue to give the community grace, because again, you don't know how someone else might be impacted by this, because you may not know their struggle, you may not know their story. And so we have to give each other grace. And also sometimes, once there comes a period, is we have to be loving, kind, and just be there for folks. Not try to pastoralize, or what some say, which can also be harmful, is someone shares their loss and you say, well, it could be worse. How about you just sit down, Kathy? How about you just sit down and just listen and be with me and be empathetic? It doesn't always have to be about you. And so that's important too, is just to remember that the story is sad. And the one thing is that we may have more sad stories to come before the end of the year, and particularly this time of the year. Um, so as a community, we need to give each other grace, continue to hold each other, continue to create spaces like this. Reach out if you know the families, offer support, offer kindness, and let's, try to get through this as a community the best way we know how.
Dr. Brandy, thank you for that. And it is just so important. And I'm intentional about not staying in this space too long, but we have to also just acknowledge that they're not these type of incidents remind a lot of people of their own situations. Gail
Mhm.
shared it. Jen, who's not in the room now, has been in the room and shared her testimony about domestic violence as well. And as I said, I'm not connected to the family, so I'm not, going to go in a lot of detail, but I just thought it was, and I was going to do it the other night, but it's just, we want to be considerate to the family in doing anything. Yes, there is
Mhm.
communal trauma, but we don't want to, because people are very sensitive in spaces like this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in this space, Dr. Brandy, people, I'm not going to get into that. But anyway, Dr. Brandy, you started off. Well, first, thank you so much for sharing your guidance with us around that. And folks, if you could, as we get ready to go into our Mental Health Monday, if you could share words. I believe Pastor Marion shared her word, but we're going to go start talking about our mental health status. And usually I don't start, Dr. Brandy, but I'll start today, just because it's somewhere in the realm of, okay, I'm aware of what's going on. I'm hopeful. There's some political things going on as well, but I'm okay. I'm okay. And
Hmm.
so, folks, please share your word in the comments as well. And then let's talk a little bit about Saturday, Dr. Brandy. You are virtually here in the Java Cafe, and you are also in the room on Saturday.
Yes.
About 30 or so folks in the room on Saturday. And for those of you that don't know, we had our first live Java Cafe at the Underground. Shout out to Nia, Chef Ollie, the team there, Marcy, Rachel, who was there as well. And so it was, hold on for 1 second. My mother just, wow. My brother, who was in here often, Rob Alexander, his house caught fire last night. So, folks, please keep Rob and the family in prayers as well. And I'll check in with him after today's show. We're trying to keep a uplifted space, but let's just name and real that there are times where there's just a lot that we deal with, and that's why being intentional about our mental wellness and not letting that get to a point of mental illness is so important. And so, Dr. Brandy, we might, deviate a little bit just to be sensitive to those that are in the room. And so, Ma, I will check with Rob. But Saturday, really, it wasn't a whole mental health space, but there was a lot of information shared, and folks were sitting, in different areas, and it may not have been pews, but folks were sitting together. And so I am thankful for you. I'm thankful for Toy. I'm not going to name other names that was in the room on Saturday because I'll get in trouble. But Dr. Brandy, we did talk over the weekend that we were going to talk about thankfulness today, and that there are different varying levels of thankfulness. And I kind of came up with my own definition around, conditional thankfulness. If I get everything that I want, then I'm thankful. If I don't get everything that I want, I'm slight thankful. And then if I'm struggling, then I don't have no thankfulness until I see it. I don't know, but there are different stages of thankfulness. And so we're going to talk about that. We just came out of Thanksgiving. We're going to talk about that with Naisha this afternoon. But Dr. Brandy, what do you mean by the pews of thankfulness? It's the pews.
So I sent James this text. I think it was like a Mac-induced, coma that I would come out of. But just to give you some context, so I sent this text to James, and I was like, "Oh, I got a brilliant idea for what we could talk about on Mental Health Monday. How about which pew of thankfulness are you?" Okay. And so what I began to think about back in the day, and I'm sure some of the folks on here can relate to this, is you would have the churches that would have and pews are the benches, the wooden
Those
benches
that don't know.
in the church. I just want to make that clear. They're the wooden benches in the church, right? And we're not talking about the ones they have today that have the fancy cushions and all. No, we talking about the hard wooden benches that you would have in the churches. Mm-hmm. And for those of you who come from a faith tradition, you would always know you were about to be in that pew for a long time when the pastor, deaconess, somebody would say something to the point of, "Oh, I don't know where the Spirit gonna take me." And then there'd be a refrain of, "I wish I had a praying, a healing, a worship in church." And you would hear two types of comments, right? You would hear the sisters that they be in church all day, every day. They'd be like, "Yes, speak, preach." And then you would hear the other one that would say, the other
not too
collective,
long, not too long.
The other collective would say in their head, they never say it out loud because they might get busted in the mouth. In their head, they say, "Oh, well, I hope this worship and thankfulness, and I hope it don't go past 1 p.m. because I'm hungry and my booty numb," and or whatever, right? So
the numbness is real, because I can remember going to stand up and you're like, "Wait a minute, fall off." I'm sorry, go ahead.
right. And like my grandmother, when I grew up, she was the mistress of ministry and music and everything. And it would extend to where, yes, we'd be on church on Sunday, but then she'd be at funerals playing and stuff. And so growing up, we was in church a lot, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh my goodness, your booty just get numb. You young, you like, "Pastor, it's 12:30. We've been here since 8. Like, I'm hungry." Like, but okay. So now couple that with, I'm in college by this time. And when you're younger, you go to the church that your family goes to, you just, but in college, I decided I'm gonna go to a non-denominational church. But one of the sermons one Sunday, it was a guest sermon, and she spoke about where she was in her life with respect to thankfulness. And she likened it to her journey as a Christian. And she was like, as a Christian, I'm gonna be honest, y'all, I'm a seventh pew Christian. She was like, I probably ain't, the first two pews, because those are the praying mothers and the grandmothers, and they holy sanctified. And she was like, I'm not back in the church pew, because like I don't just go to Bedside Baptist or Tabernacle or Holy Mount Zion Rock.
Look, hold on. You got me so bad. I said, Sister Brandy. Hold on, Dr. Brandy. Hold on for 1 second. We just want to acknowledge the fact. Yes. I just text him, Rob. We love you, and so many people in the room are praying for you. And I don't know the details, of the situation with the fire last night. But Rob, the folks are here for you, and so please keep me abreast and let me know. And this is the I was trying to show the oh Jesus, the comment. This is why I don't mess with them, but I saw Rob pop in the room, and Rob, yes, there are people praying for you, sir. And so there's one there with Nikki, and Mom made sure we knew to pray. So yes, we're praying for you, Robin. And I now you got me here ready to say
thank you. Thank you for being in the space, Rob.
Yes, Rob.
Because you could have been anywhere this morning, but you decided to share your energy with us. And
all right, Dr. Brandy, stop.
And I do want to say, though, as someone who's experienced the fire where our house burned down, is that if you need something, and you may not know what that is right now, but if you do, definitely reach out, because, we throw around the words fam and all of that, but we truly mean it. Like, we have to uplift one another. We have to be here for one another. And again, you may not know what help you need, but just reach out. So
we'll work on that. Thank you.
Yeah. But yeah, so we've talked about which pew of thankfulness are you? And so, when we get to it, I think about it in the sense of this, is when you look back, present, past, and even, as you're looking towards your future days, is what do you remind yourself about being thankful and being grateful? And November actually is the month of gratitude.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I actually just learned that like yesterday. But November is the month of gratitude. And so one of the things is I think about this time of year is a time of reflection as we go into the end of the year, as we go into, New Year's resolutions and things like that. And so I was just thinking about, church, and because Thanksgiving, we normally spend in church, midnight service, and then, go into eating and stuff. But I thought about, which pew of thankfulness are you? Mm-hmm. Are you a first, second pew? Like you wake up every morning and you like, oh, thank you.
No matter what's going on.
No matter what's going on, what you got going. Are you a seventh row pew member? Where, like, as James was saying, is sometimes certain things hit and you're like, oh, no, I can't be right now in this moment. Because right now in this moment, I'm angry. Right now in this moment, I'm not thankful. Right now in this moment, you could take that. If whatever lesson you trying to teach, no, take it back.
Not right now.
Not right now.
That's real.
Or are you in the back? You in the back pew, where because of all the traumas, because of the history, because of your present, you can't even get to a space where you can love yourself, let alone love the collection that created you. The good, bad, ugly. And so I was really again, as I said, I was eating some mac and cheese and reflecting on this, but I really was thinking about this. It's like, what pew am I? Like, it wasn't even about like Java fam.
You getting answers, Dr. Brandy. You didn't even ask, but you get, well, the topic is a question. So they're telling you now.
Yeah. First pew all day. Well, thank you. Pass some of that pew on to me. I mean, because no, I'm being honest. Like, certain times I can't be a first pew. I'll share an example. 5-6 years ago, and I've shared this before. My mother was having brain surgery, and during that time, I was her power of attorney and everything, like signing papers, right? And because they had discovered a tumor in behind her ear, and it was going to be an 11-hour surgery, all of that. And in those weeks and months that I was helping her recover, I was just like, why? Like, I wasn't like, okay. At first, I was thankful she was here. She was still with me. And yes, I felt that in that moment. And then those days and months after, I was like, good goodness, like, are we ever going to get out of this? Like, is she going to be better? And financially, it was a struggle because it was like medical bills and hospital bills and therapies and medications and mortgages and rent and all this other stuff. And so I really mean that in the sense of, when we think about this family, we started it this morning, in terms of they've lost a loved one. And another family has been impacted because they too will lose a loved one,
That's
just
right.
in a different sense.
Yep.
And so in those moments, it is hard to have that same thankfulness. It is hard to have that same energy for I'm doing well, I'm being well. And then let's get even more introspective with it. A lot of times we are our worst critics
Yeah.
and can be very hard in terms of where are we with where we are in life. In terms of, you look at, because, and this is one of the things I've actually been reading a lot about with respect to social media
Mm.
and how we are on social media is you can scroll down. You don't see the bad, like in terms of how people
Mm-hmm.
post the good, right? Like even good morning, those types of things, selfies, all this. Oh, look what Bay cooked, Oh, look at my Thanksgiving meal. Look at the whole family in the picture and all those other things. But at the same time, is it creating this kind of piece where it makes us even harsher critics of ourselves because the images that we are seeing
Teach here. Yep.
are not reflective of the full experience and the full depth and breadth of our experiences, because we're always looking for the right angle, the right light, and the right this. We don't show, the turkey that was burnt up. And,
I
like,
showed my turkey legs the other night. They was a
you
little old
know,
air
I
fryer.
mean, I'm just saying, but you do it in a way to highlight. But see, even
Mhm.
then, James, sometimes we do it in a way to highlight, oh, we still human too, and then other people be like, oh, da, da, da. So even that creates something else.
Yep.
But I mean, I truly mean this in the sense of when we're talking about thankfulness and we're talking about how we are thankful, a lot of it does come to, and this gets into kind of this theme I'm in now, is how we think about situations and how we memorialize those situations. Because a lot of times when we look at thankfulness, it does have to do with our past bringing us to our present. And some of us have been through things that the memory of it, the trauma
Hmm.
of it, the
Hmm.
history of it, and especially around this time, because you can bring up a lot of that, is just hard to get past
That's
and
right.
to be thankful for. And so I'm always reminded, even though admit I'm probably in like the seventh, maybe the sixth pew. I
Okay.
like six better. I'm probably six. I remember what an old coworker would say to me every time we'd have a birthday in the office or something like that. She would say, I'm thankful there's a birthday because it could have been the other way, right? Like I could not be here. And so the one thing I try to remind myself is that, yes, some things in my past may not be where I wanted them to be. Even in the present, I may not be where I fully want to be, but at least I'm here and I may have a tomorrow
Mm.
to be where I want to be. Right. And so I'm thankful for that piece and again, I'm my harshest critic on this is, sometimes I'm like, oh, I check certain boxes, but I ain't there. But I still
Hmm.
remind
Same
myself
here.
that be thankful that at least you have the opportunity today to check a box, because
That's
some do not have that opportunity. Some do not have those same things. And I don't just mean in terms of having life and breath and all of
yep.
that. I mean in the sense of like certain privileges, certain things that I have available to me that others may not. And so that's the piece I have to keep reminding myself. And Quincy, I see you. Thankful for them crispy turkey legs. Yes. I still ain't got my chitter legs, but
today's the last day because at the most I'm like leftovers 3, 4. At the most,
James, what?
I'm old school. You can after 3. They've been in the refrigerator cold. I think I ate off of them once because when I listen.
But you know what my mama said to me? She was like, Brandy, you could just freeze it. I swear.
I want to freeze a couple of things, but I'm like, I want
everything is freezing. So. Yeah.
Get some.
And I want to say a big thankfulness for family.
Yes.
That you still communicate with, that you still have a healthy relationship with. I want to say thankful for that. I'm thankful for groomers because my Coco now looks wonderful.
Y'all remember when Dr. Britt, was it last Monday?
Yeah, it was last Monday.
How's she looking now? Where's she at? You know they want to see Coco. Is she?
I'll show her. I'll show her towards the end. But I'm thankful for groomers. I'm thankful for all that. I'm thankful for friends. I'm thankful for spaces like this. And something else I was just going to say is I'm thankful to have the opportunity to talk and share. Because one thing I think I forget is, and James, I know you do this too, is what platforms and spaces we have. And I'm so thankful for Saturday because I got to meet Rachel in person. I got to meet in person. And you don't realize the impact of words, the impact of creating spaces like this, the impact of, truly just being authentic with where you're at and having conversations around mental health. And so I'm really today, as I think about, my pew of thankfulness is really about being thankful for just having this opportunity to just share with you all and really be in community and family together. And so one thing I'm going to do for me, you can choose which one is, what you want to do. But one thing I want to do, because we'll talk about this towards the end of the year, New Year's resolutions typically don't last. And the reason why they don't last, and I've talked about this before, is because people put all their kind of hopes and dreams on, if this one thing happens, then, like if I lose all the weight, I'm going to join the gym and that's going to be it. Right. Mm-hmm. And so typically what happens is folks make New Year's resolutions and by March, it's a wrap. Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to do is end the year with gratitude and thinking about resolve, if you will, and resolutions. And so what I'm going to do, since I found out that November is the month of gratitude, I'm actually going to do a December month of gratitude.
Daily?
And so I'm saying it here in person and live so that folks can hold me accountable. But I'm going to do a December calendar for gratitude. And so I printed out a couple, and then I'm going to kind of make my own, choose what works for me in my space. But just to kind of keep my mind on just being gracious for the spaces that I operate in and the things that I'm able to do. So that's what I'm going to do for me because I feel something has been like weighing on me that I think we're going to need that. Not just personally, but as a community going into this year and into 2022, because everybody has kind of put 2022 as we going to be behind COVID's going to be behind us. Like 2022 is going to be the first, and so but something, as I always try to say is, we one thing goes away, but something else might be around the corner. And so I'm just thinking about that and mindful of that. So I'm trying to end the year with a spirit of gratitude so that I start the year where anything I resolve to do starts off with a good foundation.
And I think that's a good, and that's a good foundation, Dr. Brandy, because we have to be, and it's funny that today's Monday and we usually do Thankful Thursdays, but this is why I stress the point on Thursdays to be intentional about thankfulness. Rena early on, charter member, introduced the concept of intentional self-care. And then we started talking about intentional thankfulness because when situations arise for which we may want to be on the ninth pew of thankfulness. If we would go back in the recollection of our mind and remember, I feel a preach, and remember the good things, it kind of may move us up, a couple of pews. And so it is so important that we're
and it's how we refrain and how do we frame it, right? Because here's the thing is, and I mentioned earlier, my family and I, we experienced the fire, and it was the same week that my grandmother died of stage 4 lymphoma. So she died on Sunday. Our house burned down on Friday. We buried her. I'm sorry, our house burned down on Wednesday. We buried her Friday.
Jesus.
And that week, as a young person, I was 10 years old, was so I can't even express to you how traumatizing it was, because it was the first time I had ever seen my mother so I have never, and everybody knows they have those moments where you see your parents or the people that take care of you just break down, and that does something to you and you can't do anything. But the one thing, reflecting on it now, is I'm so thankful, because my grandmother passing when she did saved our lives. And that is real. That is real, in that if we had been home, because once we got back home after the homegoing service and everything, we met with the fire detectives. And I remember them saying, had we been home, we would have died. Period. End of story. And so, yes, we lost the matriarch of our family, and that could never be replaced. But her life and even her last breaths gave us the opportunity to continue to breathe. And when I talk about it, I get emotional, because again, then I couldn't, I was mad. I was so bad, so hurt, because y'all don't even know, but yeah. So
you said yo, and I know when I say that, it's
yeah. And and especially as a Boston, a Southern Bostonian, for me to even use any New England colloquialism, y'all know, I'm getting there. But no, I mean, in a real place, is that her death it left a hole in me, right? But as an adult, and once I got to college and everything, I could appreciate her tutelage, her legacy, and what she meant. And I could look back on it now and say, I'm so thankful. And wherever she is, I hope she still continues to look over us and our family, and, is proud of her giving her breath for me and my family. It's just beautiful.
And that's a first or second pew.
Yeah, that's a first or second pew. But then there come, the seventh pew.
No, just leave it at the first or second today, because you said it's about perspective. Just for today, stay on the first or second pew, Jesus.
Look, I shared with Toy and Tania in our kind of group chat, because we were going to meet up for dinner yesterday, and I was like, oh, I can't, because we got our family call at 5 p.m. and Thanksgiving happened, so we got an agenda, and there's gonna be some tea shared. So that's why I say, oh, I got back to the seventh pew.
And I'm just loving how you throw up that branding every couple of seconds, Dr. Brandy. Listen, everyone, I
had to,
Oh, you really had to sip. So now I'm not the only one that takes a sip. And okay, listen, let me behave. We're getting ready to wrap up, everybody, but we really wanted to balance this between the serious note. And Dr. Brandy, thank you for your transparency, because it brings us right back to what we started out with today, that our community is feeling a real hole right now. And so it's important, in this vein, what Dr. Brandy said, you may be in the back of the church or in the back of the building for various reasons. And one of them may be that you're dealing with a reminder of death in general. We know the last couple of years in Boston, homicides have been high during the holidays and shootings, or you may have lost a family member, and this is coming up, or a first or second time since we've been in COVID. And so we want to hold this space and really remind you, drink water when you're dealing with these feelings, and do your best to eat and sleep. And if you smoke and you drink, don't overdo it with the intention of what's the word, Dr. Brandy? Numbing the pain. Because after the alcohol wears off and you need that next blunt, you're still in the reality. And so we're going to go out with some Black Joy. I did hear from my brother Rob, and he seems to be okay. He shared some details about the fire, but I'm not going to share that here. But we're going, and she's in brand. She's in red.
Yeah, she's in red.
I noticed stuff like that.
I got her this. I ate Santa's cookies.
She is so cute, and she don't look too happy. Props did the same thing to his dog for Halloween, and he didn't look too happy either.
Yeah, she don't like stuff on her head. She don't like that.
And she's not spunky. She's not looking at the camera. She's like, I'm not giving you no performance this morning. Last week she was like, and now with everything, she ain't doing nothing.
she over it.
Yep. She ain't even looking up. She's like, ain't no treat there. Listen, Dr. Brandy, I appreciate you so much for your transparency. I appreciate you coming into the room, and we both share, I think, the sentiment that moving you to mornings is just a whole different feel. We enjoyed the time in the afternoon, but this is I like you here. I like you here. Naisha and Jelani are holding it down on Monday afternoons, but I think this is a different type of home for you, and so it's so natural. And I really appreciate you, Dr. Brandy. We're going to get ready to wrap up, folks. Dr. Brandy, I'm going to do a couple of announcements and share a little bit of commentary that I won't keep.
And I want to say, I appreciate everybody. I'm seeing all the comments come through, and I appreciate the love. And for those of you I wasn't able to hug on Saturday, no, I'm hugging you now as we go into our week. Especially after a holiday, because it take a long time to restart after that. But I'm thankful for all of y'all. I'm thankful we continue to have these conversations. And I'm sure next week gonna be fire too, because I'm gonna have a thought. I'm gonna eat some more macaroni. And I'm like,
but Toy was like, do you want some? I was like, I can't eat right now. But folks, we're going to wrap up. Dr. Brandy, thank you. I appreciate you. And we'll get back in Toy's on. We're going to get back on schedule on Fridays, 5 at 5. And that's it. Talk to you soon, Dr. Brandy. Maybe Toy signed up by now. No, sir. All right. And Ma got her Java mug. Yes, Mama Java got her mug. And it was so good seeing Conchetta on Saturday as well. All right, Dr. Brandy, I'm going to go share some commentary and make some announcements, and I'll check in with you throughout the week.
Bye, y'all. Have a great day, great week. See y'all next Monday.
Thanks, Dr. B. Y'all, that was our Dr. Brandy, who, is coming in on every Monday morning at 9 a.m. to talk mental health. We're going to get ready to wrap up a little longer extended today, but thank you all for tuning in. Tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., if you do not know the name Kurt, and I say Faiston, but I believe it's Foston, he is coming into the room. He is, Toy is it? Hi, Toy. Toy got me in that sentiment like when I cuss when my mother's on. Hi, Toy. I'm gonna get in trouble. Anyway, and look out for something coming from a collaboration with Dee Dee's Cry and Java with Jimmy Soon. Michelle Mickles, who was there Saturday, pulled us aside and she was like, y'all need to talk about seniors and mental health. And so definitely working on that soon. I put a picture up of Toy from the event on Saturday, and I can guarantee you she was probably working, sending somebody an email or a text talking about this is the day, are you free? But Toy, as always, thank you so much for the support. And so don't forget, tomorrow morning, Kirk Foston or Faiston is coming into the room. And also on Wednesday, Anthony Collins, the young man that came and broke down all the numbers after the preliminary election and talked about stats and trends. Anthony has broken, and Anthony was there Saturday. I hope you guys got to meet him. He was there Saturday, sitting right in front of the registration desk. He's coming in on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and he's going to break down all the numbers, neighborhood, I think gender and things like that, wards and precincts. So plan on being here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. We're going to talk with Kirk about mental health, about his upcoming summit, the Dropout Summit. I believe registration is still open, but he'll share some information tomorrow. And yes, that is it for me And so we will see you this afternoon at 1 p.m. Remember, we're not on Spark FM, but we will be here at 1 p.m. this afternoon for Black Mental Wealth with Naisha Deed of Pure Spark and also Jelani Lynch of Ambition of the City. And we're talking Black mental wealth. And some of that actually came up on Saturday in our panel about green, weed, and Black equity in the cannabis industry. And if you did not watch, if you did not attend, and if you did not sign on Saturday, go back and watch, because Jeff, Lori, and Chief, there was so much that they brought into the room that transcends outside of Black equity and cannabis, about unity, us coming together, and knowledge and access to information. And so anyway, I'm not going to do the whole hour today. I'm going to get off of here. I will see you guys today at 1 p.m. Please spread the word about Black mental wealth every Monday at 1 p.m., at least through the rest of this year, with some of the programming changes and people reaching out to do some things. I'm not doing anything new until the first of the year as far as platforms and programming. So stay tuned for that. Last thing is, tomorrow is Giving Tuesday. And you here in the Java fam have the ability to make a tax-deductible donation for the continued work of the Java Cafe. And so I'll share that information this afternoon with you. Please consider making a donation. Similar to Dee Dee's Cry, the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute is my fiscal conduit. And I'll tell you how you can get how you can make a donation. Thank you all for tuning in today, and we'll see you later today at 1 p.m. Peace, everybody, and have a great and awesome first part of your Monday. We'll see you for Midday Java today at 1 p.m. here in the Java Cafe.